Hello, today is March 9th, 2026, and today is the 20th day of Lent. I got up this morning, still a bit tired from the Friday overnight and then time change on Saturday night, and I didn't really, I was in bed at 10 last night, but still woke up at 6:30 ish, somewhere right there, and did my hour of prayer meditation, and um, and then yeah, that was good. Um, and then went from there to Pony Coffee and journaled a couple pages. A couple things that are on my mind are I I need to buy a house, um, because Tulsa is like real estate in Tulsa is great, in comparison to the rest of the country. And a lot of during 2020, 2021, 2022, like that era, California and those places were getting insanely expensive. And Tulsa was relatively, uh, it in comparison to those places, Tulsa is like dirt cheap. People are like would look at our real estate market and be like, "Holy cow, I'm rich! I can buy whatever I want," um, because what they would spend on a normal 2 to 3 bed family home in certain parts of California, they could come here and buy like one of the nicest, largest houses in a great neighborhood and a great school system. Well, in uh, in the best school system available to Tulsans. Obviously, overall, Oklahoma is 50th in education, but um, the all that to say, a lot of people started moving here, which in part because of that, real estate prices have gone up. In part because Tulsa is actually growing, and attracting a lot of new people because of George Kaiser and the George Kaiser Family Foundation. A lot of um, money has been invested into this community, which brings people into the community, which raises real estate prices. Real estate prices are going up in general, due to everything in the world. Uh, so it's going up in line with everything else, and then going up at an additional rate because of our growth. And the area that I want to be in, downtown, I my biggest dream would be that I own in downtown proper, inside the inner downtown loop. There's a highway system that all intersects around downtown, and it literally creates a rounded square, and everything inside is what I call downtown proper. And I would my biggest dream is to own something downtown proper, because this is where I want to be. I love living in my apartment, and I love being able to just walk straight out my door and I'm downtown, and this is my neighborhood. That I would love to keep. That is, unless I come into a whirlwind of money, and become instantly rich, beyond my wildest dreams, then that's just not a possibility, because I shouldn't. The only thing to buy downtown are condos. There's no In downtown proper. There is not any standalone homes. You can only buy condos. The nice condos are 4, 5, 6 seven, 800,000, $1 million. Like, I mean, I think there's some for 400,000. Um, there, there are, uh, there are some options in the $100,000 range, and I could do that. Um, but owning a condo is is a step up from paying rent, because I'm paying towards my own mortgage that I can uh, that I then own and can sell. But I'm not a property owner. I'm a condo owner, um, and so my equity isn't being earned as quickly, and also I don't own the land on which I'm sitting. So, and then there's condo fees and all that stuff. If it was not, um, I mean, if I was rich and I could afford it, I wouldn't be having this conversation in general. Um, but it's like, if I could have, there's some like basically standalone condos downtown. Like, the condos that I could afford are essentially apartment buildings. The condos that I would want, it's like row houses, like New York style, where you have a front door and you have a multi-level home, and you just share either your side walls, or if you're on the end, you only share one wall, and you don't have upstairs downstairs neighbors, and you basically don't own an apartment. You own like an actual townhome or something like that. And that would be awesome, but I can't afford that. So my next option is to look at the down right outside the inner downtown loop, and so expand the circle. And right outside downtown, where it's still what I would consider walkable to downtown, like very walkable, those homes are very desirable. One. And so, being desirable, they go quickly and they are more expensive. What I have figured out is, basically right now, my with my income and what I know that I can afford, because I afford it now to pay this rent, to stay within that and leave myself margin for bills and utility maintenance, that type of stuff. My max dollar amount would be 175,000 to buy, with the current interest rate and insurance rate and all that. So, which is not, obviously that's not a lot. And I'm asking a lot of that budget. My desires for being downtown and then only having the budget, I'm gonna have that first ring. Let's call downtown zone 1, and then there's zone 2 just outside of downtown. The only thing that could possibly be within that budget would be a piece of land, or like a dump that needs fixing up, like, badly. If I could find a dump that I could get for 100,000 and still have like margin to flip, that would be awesome. But is also very unlikely, because most of the houses within that zone 2 are going to be well above, they're going to be above 200,000, and it can be 300 upwards, depending on the size. You can hit 400,000. There's some within that are even more than that, because they're just like giant brick homes that have been there forever. So then there's the next ring, and this is getting more doable, and especially if I go north and and or west, uh, these are more up and coming or less desirable neighborhoods than south or east, and would love to be in the south of downtown, but it just is what it is. So, anyways, these are things that are just on my mind right now, thinking about this and what my dream, my my doable dream, my dream within the real life circumstances of which I live in. If I could get with, it's technically walkable, but really it's like bikeable to downtown, just west on the like zone 3 or 4, west and north, but a unique property, like an old block brick business that is like basically just a rectangle that I could buy and convert to a house, or it's already been converted, or a tiny little church, or something like that, where it's not where it's unique and a converted space, a once public commercial, but now residential. That would be the doable dream, but still difficult because I'm not the only one who would want that property. And to get that property within budget, there was one that I found. There's a house that I was looking at, and the property right next door on Street View is, I think it's an old church, and like a very like a small like brick block building with, it like wasn't just a rectangle. It kind of had like a square and a rectangle together, and it gave us very unique architecture. And in Street View, it was bought in 2020. I saw that for $50,000, and on Street View, I could see that it was bought unconverted. And then if you go to it, like whenever I moved to the Street View, it updated to the newest imagery, and it had been new windows put in, painted, and converted to a really cool looking house. And they, originally they paid $50,000 for the building and property. What an awesome thing! It was in 2020, which sounds like so much has changed since 2020 to 2026, and for that to even be, and it's crazy to think that I highly doubt I could get something, today, 6 years later, $50,000, which gives me margin to renovate it. But anyways, that's one of the things I've been thinking about, dreaming about. Another thing I've been thinking about is for the archive, and geez, I'm still, one thing I've been thinking about for the archive that I should do is interview my grandparents and parents, of what I was like as a child and any memories they have. Just interview them. What was I like as a child? And as they talk, let them tell stories of memories and capture all of that interview footage of my grandparents. One, because I don't know how much longer I'll have the opportunity to hear all of that stuff from my grandparents and to capture it. And then for my parents, because I think they're not close to hopefully they live out their life, and I'll have plenty of opportunity to do it, but I need to do the opportunity, take it while I'm thinking about it. And also, uh, I can re-interview them, every 10 years or something, which I think would be fun. Um, so yeah, I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking about, after I left Pony Coffee, um, I we had staff development day, and Stephen and Bailey Kurt, they spoke to us, and they were talking about prayer, and prayer's been a big focus at City Church. And obviously I just did Break the Ground, 12-hour all night prayer, so I've been thinking about that in general. And then Stephen brought some things, one of them being an A.W. Tozer quote, that the most important thing about prayer is to pray until you actually pray. And I think that's so good. And I also was relating that to Break the Ground in worship until you actually worship, because the first 4 hours was two full bands of worship. And took me an hour and a half or so to even just really like arrive there, to be in that space, and to like adjust my energy and get rid of thoughts, and to not be in like work mode and all these things, to really just be there. And then I was able to start, worshiping, and I had to worship until I actually worshiped. And same with prayer. It's like, and meditation too. I mean, I've been talking about that, like in yesterday's journal, of it takes the first 50 minutes to have the last 10. And you have to meditate until you meditate. And you have to pray until you pray, and worship until you worship. It's not easy to just arrive, to just be there, to be like, well, okay, giving it 10 minutes is better than giving it no minutes, but only giving it 10 minutes, you're only going to, it's not the same as giving it 12 hours. I mean, there's just something very different than that. Now, obviously you can't do 12 hours very often. But in the most important thing about prayer is pray until you pray, is the quote. And that can be true of every day. And in the same with meditation, it takes the first 50 minutes to have the last 10. But the more you practice, the easier it is to drop in. And so, it's like I'm 20 days into this newest season of meditating. And because of my years of practice, I was able to jump into this daily practice, with day one being able to sit for an hour, and not want to kill myself, because I had already put in all of that work. But because I had him diligently practicing, I had to meditate for days until I was actually meditating. Kind of getting off track, but the point being, can't do 12 hours every day or even very often, but the more you do it, the more you'll find that you're actually praying, where maybe today you begin praying and you don't actually start praying for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever. And then a week from now, that practice turns into where you actually started praying within 15 minutes. And then the repetition and all gets to where you're never not praying. And that's the abiding. That's the holy unity in the divine dance of you're never not praying. Same with meditation. It's like never not meditating, which I also, those are the same thing, meditation and prayer. They're the same thing for me. Not all meditation is prayer, but I can maybe say that all prayer is meditation. And I think I could also make the argument that all meditation is prayer, even if you don't, even if the intention, even if you don't know the name of God, that it's still prayer. I don't need to make that argument, but I'm just, for me, and my intentions and how I meditate, all my meditation is prayer. So, so the abiding for me is being in intentional spaces of sitting at the feet of Jesus and being in contemplative prayer, and then in my non-formal practice and just living my life, moving through my day, I'm still in the meditation. I'm still in the contemplative prayer, and I'm never not meditating is the goal. That's never, I've never achieved that in the fullest, where I've had many seasons where every day I've carried my meditation throughout the very most of the day. But I think it would be a lie to say that there's been a day where I truly was praying every moment of my wake. But definitely been days where it's been close. And definitely my desire is to always be attuned to the Spirit and never not praying, never not meditating. Yeah, that was tangential, but anyways, yeah, the most important thing about prayer is to pray until you actually pray. That's so good. It's why I'm embarking on this endurance, challenge project. And it's like, even in what I'm doing right now, in this Lent journal, it's why I did 8 days of marathon journaling before I got to Lent, because I needed to journal until I was actually journaling, because I knew that I was not going to be, I knew that I was not going to be able to get on day 1 of Lent and just be fully here, speaking freely, vulnerably, without filter, that it would take a process, that I would have to get it out. And so that's kind of the same heart behind that, of getting all of that out, getting myself comfortable, and to be here to actually to journal without filter, as many filters as I can possibly remove, Um, and the truth is, I I don't know. The truth is, there's still a filter, even in writing journaling. There's still a filter because there's always a filter between thought and language, and I tr- there's just I don't know if there is a way around that. I don't know if there's a way around that when to translate thought, which my thoughts are in English. I'm not an abstract thinker. I'm a internal monologue thinker, and so even though my thoughts are in writing, to speak out loud thoughts is still takes a filtering translation process. So I'm trying to be as close to unfiltered as possible in both what I'm doing right now and in my writing journaling. But I don't know if it is truly possible uh, to get to a point where it is hashtag unfiltered, like fully. But maybe. I do believe I'm approaching it. Um, and and if approaching is the best that I can get, then that is what it is. But also another thing he said is our excuse not to pray is it's not a lack of time. Well, a lot of people, it's like I don't have the time to pray, and uh, it's not a lack of time. It's pride, and I thought that was very good because whenever you are have so much pride in yourself, um, you you have no reason to come to prayer, because you haven't humbled yourself enough to need or want or desire prayer. And the the more the more pride you rid yourself of, the quicker you are to prayer. And I think that is true. Um, in the last few minutes, the other thing that I've been thinking about is um, we're in the Philippians series, and in the verse that we studied this week, Philippians 3:17 through 4:1, Paul says that many live as enemies of the cross. Their destiny is destruction. Their God is their stomach, and their glory is their shame. And their mind is set on earthly things. And I think that is so good, especially their God is their stomach. And it's their God is their appetite. Their God is their desire. They feel that there's so many people who think that they live in freedom, but they are in slavery of their own desires, that the appetite they have for things they have to satisfy, and they think that satisfying it is freedom, and they boast of that freedom that they get to go after and take whatever desire that they have. And so just like Paul says, their glory is their shame. They they take so much, they take pride in the things that are destroying them, and they think that it's yeah, that's just is what it is. And I think that I have never read that verse in that way. And I just love that their stomach is their God, because that says it all in a sentence of just being so enslaved by your own appetite and desire that you believe you're in freedom, you believe you're in control, but it's in control, and you're just an agent of what it wants. And it tells you what it wants. Your desire tells you what it wants, and then you think that you're making the choice, but it made the choice for you, and now you're out doing the things that it wants you to do. And